Today is going to be our live Q&A call for our Monday session. And if you're new here, our Monday session is going to be all about getting you set up with the Investment Dominator and everything that you basically need to go ahead and get started. Along the way, we're going to go ahead and discuss some tips as well as all the fields required in order to kind of set up your domain, set up your company information, and set up your profile. And just keep in mind, all of this is going to be condensed into this live stream, and we're going to save the last little bit after this is done for some questions that we have. And just keep in mind, since it is our beginner session, we're going to go ahead and direct these questions to mainly beginners, and we're going to keep them general to try to appeal to everybody, so everybody can kind of take away something from this call. So you're seeing on your screen right now something that says send me your questions, and you can go ahead and actually just type in that box once you open up the questions tab. Don't really have to worry too much about raising your hand, as I'll be doing a demonstration live, so just go ahead and submit your questions as we go along. Anything that you have, and also go ahead and let me know if you can hear my voice. Just go ahead and throw that in the chat. That'd be much appreciated, just so that I'm not talking to myself. But let's go ahead and check out the next tab that we have here. So just more about the Investment Dominator as a whole. And thank you, Eric, for confirming that for me. So just keep it in mind, we have the LPG deal flow, and this is going to be transparent through everything Investment Dominator. So we're really going to, work through all the basic information in the beginning, so that way you can go ahead and follow this deal flow process. And also keep in mind, you're able to take your company information, county data, offer request, phone information, property details, tasks. So all of this information is on the left-hand side column is basically being taken in and put into the Investment Dominator. And what you're able to output from using this software are letters, offers, websites, calculators, analytics, and as well as you have some access to team management if you see that in the near future. So just stuff to keep in mind as we're going along through the presentation. But now let's go ahead and actually dive into the Investment Dominator itself. So you'll notice here that we have the Investment Dominator open, and we've just logged in. And right away when you log in, you'll notice that there's a little welcome message here. And this is basically going to take you step by step in learning everything. And it's kind of just highlights you, gives you kind of like a general overview of the Investment Dominator, and especially these tabs up here, land, houses, marketing, notes, and as well as your task, customized websites, team, and profile. So, if you've already gone through that tour, you could go ahead and actually just hit end tour. And we do have an option here for enable welcome tour. You could just go ahead and select that as no, if you so choose. But so we're talking about the big three today, and the big three consist of the profile, company information, and as well as domains. So, when we're talking about all these things in detail, just want to kind of keep in mind, we're going to take it step by step, and this is all being recorded, and these recordings will be available so that you can review this information in case if it might be going too fast, or if you just wanted to review maybe something on the domain section, just know that it is being recorded. So let's go ahead and head into our profile section to start off our big three. So now when we're over here working with the big three, you'll notice that in our profile section, it just asks for your first name, your last name, as well as your email address and your phone number and your time zone. So just kind of keep in mind your first name and last name, just keep that as yours, but email, in these regards right here, you don't have to worry about this information being sent out for marketing purposes. This email is specifically for support in order to contact you. So, kind of keep that in mind, and especially the phone number as well too. So a number where you could best be reached at in case if we needed to, kind of check up on your account or clear some things up with the issue that you might have had through ticket support. This is a good field to have. So as well as the time zone, so we know the best time to reach you at. Right now the company is based in Arizona, so we just have it as Arizona time zone. So you'll actually notice that we have something here called signature image. And if you go over to this question mark symbol, you'll actually see a helpful tip that'll just tell you what kind of images can be accepted. So for the most part, we have JPEG and we also have the PNG format. So keep that in mind. We have two ways to actually make a signature. And these are going to be printed out on your neutral letters. So this is something that the profile section, you want to make sure that you have completed and all updated. So this section right here, we're going to spend a little bit of time in, and one thing to kind of keep in mind is that this is going to be sent out to your mailing. So you want to make sure that you test this image and make sure it's all correct. We could go over that later if you guys have a question about that as well. So we have two different ways to kind of work through a signature. You can either upload a signature or you can either generate a signature. So it looks like we have a signature already in place right now. Let's go ahead and generate a signature. So you'll notice from the screen preview right here, it'll just ask you to enter your name, select a font, as well as a color. Let's go ahead and I'll just enter my name. And then for selecting a font, we do have some pre-selected fonts here, which are cool. And one thing that you will note is that we actually do not have any availability for other fonts. So just kind of keep that in mind. So let's go with something like this. And let's say that we wanted to change the color to blue. Like so. So while this does look good, one thing you will want to note is that when you're changing this color, your signature color, you're sending this out on your neutral letters. So however many mailings that may be, the cost is going to go up because you have chosen another font color besides the default color, which is black. So just kind of know that there is a premium since this is going to be printed out on all your letters. But it does look nice. So let's go ahead and actually go ahead with this. So let's insert signature. And you'll see that, our previous signature here was loaded up, but now we do have our generated signature, which we just made. So one thing you want to keep in mind with the Investment Dominator is that anytime you're making a change, you just want to go ahead to the bottom down here and actually just update your site. What you'll notice is that the old signature, which was there and loaded, is now gone because we updated our site and refreshed it. So now our new signature takes the place. So we could go ahead and test that image afterwards and just make sure that everything is good. But let's go ahead and take a look at this option to upload a signature image. So what you'll actually notice from this is that you're able to go ahead and select a signature like such and just open it directly from your computer. Now, that'll give you the option to then go ahead and crop your photo. So keep in mind, again, one thing I'm going to stress a lot is testing, and you want to test everything when you're working with the Investment Dominator to ensure that, everything is up to your standards, and, you just want to make sure that there's nothing that's kind of faulty about anything. So let's see, so I cropped it as much as I could, and it kind of comes out big there. So if you don't want it to come out that big, you can kind of take more of the white space that's surrounded by the image, but just kind of keep that in mind. So I kind of like this though. So let's go ahead and update our site. So, our new signature is uploaded, and that's kind of both the options that are available. And you also have an option down here to change your password if you so need to. And as you can notice, the Enable Tour option, which was on the home screen, is actually here too, so you can also do that as well. So let's keep in mind that anything we're working with the Investment Dominator, we just want to go ahead and update. So then our new image is there and secured. So one thing you want to note about the profile section too, if you are doing Zapier integration, which we talk about on our Thursday live streams, the more advanced session, you notice if you're looking for API stuff is down below in the profile section. So just keep that in mind. But all right, so this is the first step of the big three. And just kind of walking through some basic information that you need to have set up in your Investment Dominator and things that you should kind of help and follow along with. So this next section that we're going to dive into requires a little bit more detail. So if you so need to take notes or anything of that sort, this is the time to. So let's go ahead and actually click on Customize. And we're going to then go ahead to company information. So this section here is going to take a little bit of time in order to actually break down everything here. And the reason why we're spending so much time on this section is actually because when you notice our company phone here, you'll see this number which is provided for demonstration purposes, but our extension 1, you'll see this number for our company phone is actually the same exact number for our offer phone. But the only difference is that one has extension 1 and the other one has extension 2. So keep in mind this is one number, but it's split up into 2. So we're going to review this in high level detail. And I also want to bring up the selling site phone here, which you'll see is not part of this extension, but actually a separate number altogether. So let's go ahead and actually dive into the company information. And we're actually going to save the company phone, the offer phone, and the selling site phone, kind of like the high level detail part of it, after we finish everything else in the company information section. So just keep that in mind, and let's kind of break down all the information on this page. So you'll kind of just see that the extension 1 is located and it is directed to Pat Live or Smith AI. Now, while these are pure recommendations, one thing I want to highlight is that we are recommending Ring Central, and this is because we have a really good partnership with them and a referral program, which we can actually highlight a little bit into the call after we get through some information. But you'll notice that this extension 1 is actually directed to a 24-hour call center. So if you're not aware what Pat Live is, it's actually a 24-hour call center, and these are going to be people that are picking up your calls and answering your new offer request. So it's something you want to keep in mind if you do not see Pat Live as an option or something that you want to work with. Just keep in mind that we do have Smith AI here as another example of another service you can use. What we're recommending is definitely proven and tested. So, you want to keep in mind that if you're branching out, you might not get the same results. So we're just giving you our recommended output for this. So let's go ahead and check out a company facts. You can notice that I have NA for this. You don't have to actually put NA on your account, but just kind of wanted to point the fact that not really too many people do use a fax number, but if you actually do, you can actually input that right there. So next you'll notice the company email field. So always throughout the Investment Dominator, you'll kind of notice these question marks. If you have any information or if you want to know any information about the section that you're highlighting, just go ahead and hover over that question mark symbol and you'll see a helpful tip pop up. But your company email is something where you can get emails for everything related to the Investment Dominator. And you'll actually notice that for a company email and for offer email, and for selling side email, I only have one spot where my email is filled in. And the reason is because when you have an email for your offer email as well as your selling side email, you'll actually notice that it's a lot of organization to keep these things intact and to actually remember everything. So there's actually a helpful feature where if you just add in your company email or something where you want to get emails for the Investment Dominator, it'll actually take your offer emails and your selling side emails and just send them directly to your company email. So if you don't really want to worry about keeping track of like 3 different emails, you can actually just go about through this step right here and just filling out your company email, which will take place for your offer email and your selling side email. Keep that in mind. So next we have our company name. So you should already be in the process of getting your LLC, and if you've already done that, then you can just actually go ahead and type your company name and then just put LLC. But let's say you actually don't have it yet, and you're just getting set up with the Investment Dominator as well as your business, what you can actually just go ahead and do for your mailing, since you're going to be sending stuff out, you can just put DBA and your name. And what this will do is it's basically a temporary solution. DBA stands for doing business as, and then you're just going to go ahead and put your name. So do keep in mind this is for temporary situations, but you really should be beginning to work out and get your name registered for your company. So then you also have your company address. So one thing you want to keep in mind with the company address is, some people are doing business from home, let's say, and you might think that it's in your best interest to put your home address within your company address field. We strongly suggest not doing this, and the reason is, if any deals go south or if anybody is like really upset at you and they're seeing that you're mailing and your mailing address is the same as your company address, then we don't want people who might get mad at a deal to know exactly where we live. So what we're going to go ahead and suggest is actually for your company address to go ahead and put which is our recommendation, of course, but you can go ahead and actually just get a PO box within a mailbox within the UPS store. And then what you're going to go ahead and do is actually just type the address of the UPS store. So one thing that you don't want to do is that you don't want to have PO box like that. You don't want to have numbers like this. You want to remain your professionalism. So just keep in mind that even though you would have a box at that UPS store, you just want to put this address and your mail can be directed to your box afterwards. So just for professionalism, and you don't want to deter away any buyers, you just want to keep in mind that first impressions are everything. So having a UPS address, just a store only right there, will definitely help with that, especially if you're working remote. So next we have our company city. Go ahead and just put where your city is located for your business, as well as your state, and your company zip code. So again, just brief overview of offer phone. Offer phone are going to be people that are directly contacting you to discuss your offers. So we don't want to direct this to a 24-hour call center like Pat Live. We actually just want to direct it to ourselves. So we recommend a Google Voice or a Skype number for this as well. So do keep that in mind. We went over offer email and kind of combining them to company email. So we don't really have to go over that, but let's see, we have our selling site phone here. And again, our selling site phone is just going to be talking about people that are basically wanting to buy property. So people that are reaching you through this line, we have like a saying, and Warren has a saying too, when he talks about this phone number, and he calls it his money phone, because when this phone rings, you want to give it your utmost attention, and you basically want to put this in the highest regard. So this number is going to be a direct number that you can be reached by. And we strongly suggest that, especially since these are going to be people that are talking about pennies on the dollar. So just keep that in mind and kind of work that through. But again, we're going to talk about our numbers in high-level detail right after we go over our company information. So we have our selling site email, and again, we're directing everything to our company email, so we won't have to worry about that. But if you do want separate emails for everything, you can actually just input your offer email there, another email, and then a selling site email, which will all kind of focus your different emails to your different emails, different information to your different emails, sorry. So now, one thing you'll also notice is your company time zone. So this is just primarily for when you're doing business, and you want to keep in mind of the time zone for that, for when you want to see people either reaching out to you or calling you, etc. So even though Pat Live is a 24-hour call center as well, just kind of putting your company's hours of operations, if you so choose, will be helpful when kind of reaching about, let's say, offers or buying property. So you'll notice for the company notes section here, I have actually Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And this will just give people a general notion of, when to primarily contact me and to best reach me by. So next we have the real estate agent and broker disclosure. What you'll actually notice with this is if you're not a real estate agent or a broker, you don't have to worry about this. You can just actually leave this as the default no. But if you are, select yes, and you'll actually notice that an agent disclosure will be kind of printed. This is default, so depending on your state, you might have to add or take off the information on here. But just kind of keep in mind that if you are, there are legal implications, so you really have to disclose if you are a real estate agent or a broker. So next we'll see our tax ID type. We have multiple options. We have SSN, TIN number, and it looks like employee identification number. So this is all going to be able to generate tax documents. So if you are not working with tax documents, specifically with active loans or leases, then you don't have to worry about this section. So, don't really spend too much time worrying about things like that. But one thing that you will note is that if you input this information, you're able to generate the tax documents which are needed for the 1098 form. And again, this is for active leases and purchases, so you don't really have to worry about this if you do not want to. And again, it looks like we just added this option over here for employee identification number, so it's great to have multiple options which you can enter. So next we have just the tax ID field, and you'll just kind of notice which one it requires as well as what is needed. So we're going to go ahead and actually hit no to that agent disclosure, and then we're going to go ahead here down below. So remember, every change that we're doing within the Investment Dominator, we're going to want to go ahead and update the site. So we updated our site, and our information is now good. So let's go ahead and actually dive into company phone, or actually dive into the phone system in general. And why we take the time to go ahead and actually do this is because this recommended phone setup has been tested and is proven to work, and we've seen great success with it. So let's go ahead and break this down in detail. And when you are talking to these representatives, one thing you want to keep in mind is that you have to be really firm on what you're asking for. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the article after this call. I might even show it right now, but let's go ahead and break down this diagram. So our recommended phone setup for 2 lines, we have 2 options here. So we have our local number 1 and our local number 2. So these numbers are being provided from Ring Central. One thing you want to keep in mind is our local number 1 has 2 extensions. So this is why it's called the 2-line setup, because even though we have 3 different systems that are going on here, we still have 2 numbers. So this route is going to be a cheaper option. While I do not know direct pricing, I do believe it is around $32, $34, or something around that sort. But this is a cheaper route than our 3-line setup, which we will be discussing in a bit. But let's go ahead and break our 2-line setup down. So you'll notice that what I was saying before, our local number 1 is directing towards our extension 1 and our extension 2. Our extension 1 leads to Pat Live. So these are people that are doing a new offer request. These are people that are requesting an offer. So Pat Live is a separate service than Ring Central. That's something you want to keep in mind too. So on top of the Investment Dominator subscription, there would be Ring Central as well as Pat Live. So the reason why we recommend Pat Live is because them being a 24-hour call center, anytime somebody calls in, they're actually able to go ahead and process our new offer request. This basically just lets that whole side kind of just take care of itself. And you want to keep in mind when you're sending out 1,000 mailings or so, you're getting a high response rate back. It's going to be a lot of calls for you to take by yourself. So definitely recommend getting that 24-hour call center, Pat Live, right there you can see. And you can actually just go ahead and just have that automate itself. If you guys have questions about that, we can actually break that down right after we're done with our big 3. But our local number 1 also points to our extension 2. These are going to be people that have questions about your offer. So again, let's go back to the Investment Dominator and just check this out. So company phone, our extension 1, Pat Live Smith AI, but our offer phone over here with our extension 2 goes to Google Voice or Skype. As I mentioned earlier, you know, you don't want this number, this extension, I should say, to just direct to your 24-hour call center like Pat Live. You want to be able to pick these calls up and answer it yourself. And this is because these are people that are going to have, you know, questions about the offer that you sent them. So because you're the only person that knows about your offer, your Pat Live representative does not, you're going to need to take those calls. So again, we're recommending using either a Google Voice or a Skype number for that extension 2. So again, the last part over here is our local number 2, which we just have questions about land for sale. So let's scroll down to our recommended phone setup for 3 lines. So this is going to be our more expensive setup, but what comes out of this is just dedicated numbers for each process that we're working through. So, you know, there's no need for extensions anymore because we'll have 3 numbers from Ring Central, and each number is dedicated to each action kind of that's going on through the Investment Dominator. So people that are requesting an offer, that local number 1 will be completely dedicated to Pat Live. Here, that local number 2 will be completely dedicated to questions about your offer. And then our local number 3 will be completely dedicated to any questions that we have about land for sale. So again, our 2-line setup is the cheaper option, but the 3-line setup is really just investing in your future. So just kind of keep that in mind. When your business does grow, we have seen that the best setup is to kind of get rid of that extension and to begin to divide each number into its own. So just keep that in mind. And again, you want to be very firm when you're working through with Ring Central through this, and you want to be firm about as to like what you want and what you're trying to get, as well as you can also just mention that you're coming from the Investment Dominator, and I do believe there is a kind of like a referral that goes through, and you'll see I do believe it's in the article, but it should be by referral.ringcentral.com. So just keep that in mind. So again, we've pretty much ran down everything that we need to for company information. So we're ahead on to the next step and the last item for our big 3, which is the domain section. So the best way to kind of work through your domain is to actually go ahead here to the help button at the top right of your screen. What you're going to do next is actually come down to search our user guide. So if you didn't actually know this was an option, this is where you can get all information about the Investment Dominator. And you're actually going to notice that there's quite a lot of information that you can find here. But for today's purposes and going through and setting up our Investment Dominator, we're going to go ahead and type in domain into our user guide, and we're just going to hit enter. And what you'll actually notice is that it will open up kind of like you're searching a database basically. And the Investment Dominator really covers a lot of information. So your user guide is your best friend. The way you really search it is by using keywords. So for instance, we're using domain just as a keyword, and we're able to pull up every single article which has a tag with domain. So for these purposes though, we're going to go ahead and actually just go to this article at the top left. It should be the first article always, which is how to configure your website's domains. So what you'll actually notice is that when you first use your websites within the Investment Dominator, you're just going to have something that kind of looks like this, just investmentdominator.com, and it'll say CRM and then a number. This CRM number is just important because it links to your profile, so just keep that in mind. But we don't really want to send these out to people that we're sending out our neutral letters to, people that we want to check up on our sites. So let's go ahead and actually change this. And the way that we can do that is by pointing our CNAME record to the Investment Dominator. So if you're not technical at all, please don't feel kind of dismotivated, I would say, about this at all. This is taken step by step, and we're also going to go through this live. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is actually buy a domain. And we recommend using GoDaddy. You'll see in this article we actually reference GoDaddy a lot. So, keep in mind that the background for GoDaddy does change quite often, but you should see a domain for around $11. So keep in mind that you need a buying site and a selling site, so that it's going to be 2 domains. So that runs for about $22 a month, but having both of these will enable the functionality within Investment Dominator to work. And it's also the reason why you need to have separate domains. You cannot use one domain for your buying and your selling website. So let's go ahead and actually just dive into GoDaddy itself, and let's see what we can do. So let's go ahead to our domains here, and we actually notice that we have GoDaddy open right here. So let's go ahead and actually follow this article step by step just to make sure that everything is good. So again, this is also assuming that you purchased your domains already. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and purchase your domains, and you could just come back to this step right here. So it looks like we just have to go to the My Products tab. So if we go down, let's see, manage my products. Sorry, it should ask me to log in again. All right, so My Products, and then let's see. We're going to want to scroll down to the domain section and select Manage. So let's see, let's scroll down. Yep, right here. So this is the domain that we purchased, and this is our selling site domain. So keep in mind, when you're working with your domains, your buying site domain doesn't have to be something that's kind of prettier or anything of that sort. It can be like joebuysdirt.com. But when you're working with your selling site, you really want to put on emphasis the name that you're using, because this is something where people are going to be reviewing your properties that you have for sale. And you just kind of want a better name for that. So something like lotsofcashoffers.com is something that I've chosen, and I think it's a good name. So let's go ahead and hit manage, just like following the article. And then from then we'll open up into our domain settings, and we're actually going to see our domain name. So let's confirm that. Yep. So domain settings, and then our domain name, which is right here. So that's great. So now next, let's go back here. We're going to go to DNS, and we're going to go to manage zones. So let's go back, and right up here, we'll click on DNS, and then we'll go to manage zones. So this is actually where you're going to type the name of your domain. So for example, my domain is lotsofcashoffers.com. And then let's kind of catch up with this article. So again, it's just asking you to put in your domain as well as type in your name. Even when you begin typing one letter of your domain, you should kind of see it pop up like it just did on the screen. And then you're going to see these options down below. So basically, you're going to scroll down to the records section under DNS management. So we're in DNS management right now, and we're in the records section. So we're followed exactly as we are with the article. So next you'll see an option that says CNAME record. So this is where you're actually going to change the information which was already provided. So you'll see right here, I have my CNAME and this www.investmentdominator.com. So this is what you're going to change all of the default information to. This is what it should look like. And you'll see that in the article here. So the host should be www, points to. There's an @ symbol here. You're actually going to change that to investmentdominator.com. And then when we're looking at our TTL, you'll see TTL stands for time to load. Instead of having this for 1 hour, we're actually going to change it to custom and then change it to 600 seconds. Since this is our website, we do want to have this refresh quite frequently, so 600 seconds will be good for us. So let's go ahead and do that. So you'll notice here the www and then points to investmentdominator.com. So this is pointing your CNAME record to investmentdominator.com. And then you'll notice the TTL we already have set as custom here. Just make sure you do that, as well as putting down 600 seconds. Then when you're done, just hit save. So what you're going to do next is actually scroll down. We're going to catch up with our article. So now what we want to do is focus on our forwarding. So this is important. You don't want to forget this step because this is how people are going to easily access your site. So under the domain right there, you're actually just going to click the symbol like we did before to edit. And you'll see right here all the information which needs to be added. So when you see your forward to, you'll notice it's just HTTP, semicolon, and then you have your dashes, and then you want to go ahead and put here just the www dot and your domain name. So just keep that in mind. And when you do your forward type, make sure you select the permanent and make sure you set your settings to forward only. This option here to update your name server and DNS settings is no longer available since GoDaddy does it automatically now. So you'll see all that information is there, as well as the lotsofcashoffers.com, which is my domain name, but you're going to go ahead and put your domain name within this field. And then once you're done, just go ahead and hit save. So go ahead and pat yourself on the back because you are almost done and you've made quite a lot of progress within the big three. So let's go ahead and finish the final steps of our domain. So we're going to go ahead back into the Investment Dominator. This time we're going to go to Customize and we're going to go to your website settings. So this process is the same for both your buying and your selling website. So that CNAME record you're going to have to do for both of those. And one thing you want to keep in mind is when you're buying your domains, you do not need to buy security, and we're going to go ahead and do that ourselves right now. So the next step, since I'm working with my selling website, I'm opening up website settings selling, but do keep in mind that the process is the same for the buying or the selling site. So you'll see in the article, it also explains that to you too. Oh, whoops, sorry, where were we? Okay, there. So you'll notice your default domain name here. What you're gonna go ahead and do is actually just change your domain, but it looks like my domain's already there. So let's go ahead and actually reset that. Give me 1 second. Okay. Go ahead and update my site. All right, so this is what you should see if you're just working with your selling site normally when you first, are working with the Investment Dominator. So what you're going to go ahead and do from that point is actually just change your domain. Then you're going to go ahead and paste your domain right in there, and I'll go ahead and grab that now. So lotsofcashoffers.com, go ahead and copy that, and then I'll come back and then I'll post it right there. So now you'll see I don't need to provide the www, but you'll see lotsofcashoffers.com, and then it's going to ask, have you pointed it to the Investment Dominator via a CNAME record? Go ahead and hit next because we did. And then you'll see old selling site domain as well as new selling site domain. And this will just take a second to just confirm and to ensure that everything is good and linked up within our Investment Dominator as well as our GoDaddy, which has our domain. So once you're done with this step, it's then going to ask you to generate your SSL. So you'll see here, because I already generated my SSL, it's not giving me that option. But for you, since you just started, you will actually generate that SSL, and I do believe there's actually an article which talks more into detail about that. If you just type in SSL into our user guide. this option right here to generate and install SSL certificates for your custom domain. This is kind of going to walk you through about the process for it, but like I said, when you just change your domain, you'll actually see another option besides the OK, which will say click here to secure your domain. And this is what you're doing to generate your free SSL. So just keep that in mind about the steps in the process as well as what is needed to be done. So with that said, we finished the big three and we finished everything that we needed to get the Investment Dominator up and running. So we're going to leave the rest of the time available on the call today to just any questions. So again, let's see if I could find my slide here. If you guys want to go over any specific portions of this call, or if you want to go over any information related to beginner level items on the Investment Dominator, we'll go ahead and do that today. If you do have more advanced questions about the Investment Dominator, go ahead and ask them today, and we'll actually save them for our Thursday session. We'll talk about our Thursday session will be completely dedicated to all advanced questions Investment Dominator for the full hour. So just keep in mind about that session as well. Something that does come up quite frequently is actually how we can sign up for meetings on a recurring basis. So what you'll notice is if you click on the help section up here and you actually go to search, if you go to weekly live Q&A training calls, what you'll notice is the session that you have here, our Monday session, as well as our Thursday session right here. So our Thursday session is at noon, Mid-Standard Time, Arizona time. And as you know, today our session on Monday is always at 5 p.m. But if you wanted to go ahead and sign up for reoccurring Thursday sessions, you could click on that blue button there. And you'll notice it'll basically just open you up to a new window here. It'll ask you for your information as well as your email address. So then you'll actually get a schedule of all the rest of the calls that we have. And I do keep in mind that there are going to be no calls on days that we have federal holidays. So just something to be aware of. We'll probably send an email blast instead. So it looks like we have a question here. Let's go ahead and take that. It's from Mohammed. And Mohammed's asking, can I use my own mailing instead of Investment Dominator? I do kind of think I know what you're saying, Mohammed, but could you clarify? Because to me it sounds like you may be talking about if we go ahead and type in mailing into the user guide, you'll notice that there should be an article about, maybe if I just type in mail. Yes, this article here, how to set up a direct mail campaign with the Investment Dominator. Would you be referring to this, Mohammed? This is actually how you would send to the mail house when you're working through with your mailings in the Investment Dominator. For instance, this is a copy of a neutral letter that you'll kind of see printed out. And just kind of when you're working through with this, you'll notice that you will actually be directed to another site called lpgletters.com. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. So this is basically ITI direct mail is what it's called. But this is how you would go about and do your mailings, and as well as they do have a lot of options for you to kind of see different pricings before you even get ready to send it out. So I'm not sure if you're referring to this directly, Mohammed, but if you are, then this article is there. And I was actually able to find this just by typing mail directly into our user guide. So hopefully that answers your question. In regards to just neutral letters, let's go ahead and actually take a look at our Investment Dominator. One thing that we'll notice is that if we go to our land section, so do keep in mind, my records are going to populate because I've been using the Investment Dominator for a while, but you'll notice when you first use it, you will already not have records there. So just something to kind of keep in mind. But when you're working through with records, one thing you can do is actually just go over here to campaigns And then you'll notice that you have your prospect neutral letter. So once you've imported records into the Investment Dominator, what you'll actually see here, if you go to import, and we have here a sample list. So this is going to be how you set up your list when you import into the Investment Dominator. This is just one of the options that we have, but basically you're going to do your Excel sheet just like this. So you're going to have all these columns up at the top, and as well as the rows for each record and information that you have. So this is a perfect setup for if you're just starting out. And one thing you want to keep in mind is that you can actually enter tags here too, which will be helpful for organizing your records. So just something to keep in mind, and let's go back to the Investment Dominator here. And so yeah, again, you can upload your list once you're done, but you'll notice once you're ready and you go over here to campaigns, you'll see your prospect neutral letter. So if you actually wanted to check that out, what you can go ahead and do is just go to PDF here and you can review your letters. So here we'll populate every single letter that we have. And again, this is my signature that we just uploaded, as well as the information that we provided within the company information. So you'll see our number here. And just realize that the extra tidbit information that I added next to the numbers, this is actually going to be for demonstration purposes. So do not have something like that on your letters, but you'll see kind of the setup of everything here. So once you verified all the information there, that is good, and you don't have to change anything, you can actually just go to download your envelopes and then review your envelopes and make sure that your fonts are good and make sure that their spacing is good so that everything can work out evenly. So let's see. So that's kind of something to keep in mind, as well as when you're printing out for the RTI, you can go ahead and actually just send over that CSV file as well as both PDFs. So just keep in mind, if you have any questions about any of the information on the side here, especially a template for your envelope or your prospect neutral letter, you can get that there. Or if you just have more information about exactly what is required for, generating some letters. For instance, down here, when you look at your offer cover letter, you'll notice that the records must be in pending preliminary research status and have the offer amount fields entered, and the offer amount needs to be larger than the back taxes. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people kind of stumble up when trying to figure out how to generate these offers, but there's a lot of helpful tips along the way, as well as our user guide. So let's go ahead and actually take a look back at the questions here. So give me a second. All right, so we have a question here from Sarah. Let's see. She basically wants to know the breakdown of how these sessions are being recorded, which I mentioned earlier. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing that up. So let's actually go ahead and try to, let's see, we'll go to our help section right here. And then we'll actually notice if we click on our weekly live Q&A training calls, we'll see we have an option down here to view replays of the last live sessions. So because of this, when you go ahead and click that button, you'll see the last sessions that we had. They're actually organized by dates. So one thing you want to keep in mind is that our Monday sessions will have kind of a setup like this, where you'll see the big three that we discussed, as well as more questions, which we break down. But let's say, for instance, we're on our Thursday session, and that's completely dedicated to questions. One thing you'll notice is that we actually have the timestamps here, and as well as just kind of a brief overview of what we're talking about. So you can actually go ahead to the top right, you'll see the YouTube video posted. When you click this, you'll actually be able to skip to any time you want. So for instance, if we wanted to go to, I forgot what it was to say, it's 623, where we just talk about more on Ring Central, we'll just actually go ahead to 623. Let's see right here. And then we'll be able to catch up on everything about that Ring Central number. So just kind of keep that in mind. everything is being recorded. If you know, I am going a little bit too fast, I do apologize, but it is being recorded, so just keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and actually go back to our Investment Dominator, and let's see more questions. So let's see. Okay, so Sahana's asking a question here, and it's a great question. So she's asking, you know, what are the first steps when really kind of working through everything with the Investment Dominator? So you want to keep in mind that you really want your phone number system to be set up. So everything you're doing with Ring Central, you want that to be done and good. And then next, you would want to focus on your websites. And, you know, following this big three that we're doing, pretty much you can kind of see the process that we took. We just went profile, company information, and then into our domains. So just kind of keep in mind, you'd want to get your phone system worked out, and then afterwards you can have your domains worked out. Phone system, we're considering a priority, considering, you know, when we're getting our mailings, we're going to just go ahead and send away our neutral letters. But in order to do that, we do really have to have our websites down and our phone system down. So, you know, however, take that as you may, but kind of seeing the process of how this video, or not video, this live stream is set up, as well as what we discussed, is kind of what we recommend. So hopefully that answers your question, and let's take a look. A lot of questions today. Thank you guys so much for asking these questions. It really goes a long way. And again, if we don't answer your question today, you will be first on Thursday. We'll go ahead and answer that, so do not worry at all. Just make sure you're signed up for that session, and if not, you can view the recordings. So, as well as to Sahana's questions, she had, you know, what if we need like more dedicated time or dedicated help? If you have any questions along the way of setting up your domains, go ahead and actually, if I can find my mouse, go ahead to create a support ticket. And you know, the big setup, if you're kind of worried about the domain section, if you go ahead and point your CNAME record to the Investment Dominator, we can actually help you with generating your SSL, as well as doing everything else within the Investment Dominator. So if you're having trouble and you're struggling with it, just remember that we're all a community and we're all in this together. Go ahead and actually just, you know, create a support ticket and just go ahead and discuss, you know, the issue that you're having, and provide a link to it. If you know, if it's like a technical error that happened with the Investment Dominator, a link does go a long way in helping us troubleshoot. But the platform you use, the browser you use, very important. Please select those as well as your priority. You know, if you're, let's say, trying to catch up for one of our live stream events, you know, our master classes or such, and you need to have your information down, you can go ahead and put it as critical. If you do see it as something that, you know, we can look into later, you can go ahead and put it as normal. But we do look at every ticket, and as well as the attaching any files that you may have. You know, if it gets really technical and you need to provide screenshots, or you need to provide a video more about your issue, then we really suggest this. And just kind of keep that in mind. You can go ahead and create a new ticket here, update an existing ticket. But if you're looking for your ticket history, if you go ahead and open up this bottom tab, you actually see all the tickets that are either, you know, open, pending, working. But do keep in mind, even if a ticket is closed, you can actually just respond to it and it'll force the ticket back open. So we'll be able to take a look at the problem again. So, you know, Sahana, you don't really have to worry about getting lost. We will help you along the way, and you're never alone. There's always a community willing to help you. So just keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and take a look at some more questions here. So we actually have time for one more question today. We're at let's see. So we got about 5 minutes left. Let me see if I can answer a quick question here. Let's see if we have anything. Just kind of briefly going over the phone setup, because it looks like multiple people are asking for questions about the phone setup. So let's break this down again. Because we have such limited time, one thing I'm actually going to direct everybody to is search our user guide. You'll actually just type in Ring Central, just like so, and search our user guide. And what you'll notice is the exact setup where I had the diagram for, this was actually listed under our recommended Ring Central setup article. So you'll see that here. So right here, you'll see our 2-line setup as well as our 3-line setup, which is down here. But this really goes into detail about breaking down every single thing with the Investment Dominator, as well as linking you to all of our referral links. So for instance, you could get pricing all about Ring Central there, or you can set up just more about setup and more advanced options here, and kind of everything that you need to go and just kind of be firm, as well as how to route and do your settings for Ring Central. So do keep that in mind. This is going to be really an all-out resource, but giving you kind of a brief breakdown. Just keep in mind when you're talking with Ring Central, our recommended phone setup with 2 lines is going to be our cheaper route, but it is going to be best for beginner users, we say, unless if you have that initial investment money where that 3-line setup will come in handy. But your 2-line setup, again, will consist of 2 numbers provided from Ring Central. So this is going to be your local number 1 and your local number 2. Your local number 1, which is 1 line, part of your recommended phone setup, is going to consist of two extensions. So your extension 1 and your extension 2. Your extension 1 points directly to a 24-hour call center, which we suggest Pat Live. But there are others, but we are suggesting Pat Live. And this basically what they're going to do is process your new offer request. Within the Investment Dominator, you would set them up with an account. They would have access, very limited access, since they're just a call center and that's all they're really required to do. So keep that in mind. But your local number 1, which if you press 2 and you go into your extension 2, you're going to go into questions about your offer. So this is going to link to a number directly dedicated to you, where you can go ahead and answer these questions about your offer. And this cannot be dedicated to a Pat Live representative, so keep that in mind. And our local number 2 over here is dedicated to questions about land for sale. But again, hopefully that kind of helps you guys. But this article, I do think, will help a whole lot more, just kind of breaking down that information even further. So looks like we're just about time here, but all of the people that are asking questions, we're going to head and save you for our backlog for our Thursday session, so do stay tuned for that. But I would like to keep up the tradition of ending off with a quote. So for today's call, the end of our Monday call, we're going to end with this quote, and it says, "Ever tried, ever failed? No matter, try again, fail again, and fail better." And this is a quote from Samuel Beckett. And one thing why I like this quote is because a lot of times fear can hold you back from kind of seeing results. So no matter if you're fearful of entering wrong information, or even getting your domains messed up and you're kind of like scared about what to do next, or anything of that sort, you're scared about sending your first round of your neutral letters, there's nothing really that comes bad from trying. So please just kind of keep at it and stay as motivated as you can, and just make sure you take it day by day. If you find yourself lacking on the Investment Dominator, you haven't been on for a week, just kind of try to make small goals that you'll lead to. And if you have any questions along the way, please submit a ticket or join our live sessions. Again, our Thursday session is definitely going to be for those advanced questions, so do keep that in mind. We'll break that down and we'll make sure that everything is good to go. But again, send a ticket in if you need more support. And again, looking forward to seeing you guys joining our future calls. So thanks you all for joining today. Some great questions. Really, really, really appreciate all the questions that you guys are asking. So looking forward to our Thursday session. But thank you all for tonight, and we'll go ahead and see you on Thursday. All right, bye-bye, everybody.